Family torn apart, whispers tearing lives, hearts raw scarred. Judges grinning, deals in shadows locked. Caseworkers speaking truth they've mocked. Gunning on for justice, rage intense, bringing kids home from this broken fence. Corruption weighs heavy, laws collapse. Kids go missing behind their maps. CPS stealing kids, no trace. Lies build walls, the truth they erase. Gunners howl, cuts through the air. He won't stop midnight, he'll get there. Dark hallways where the guilty play. Secrets hiding, hope fades away. A man with fire, voice like a storm. Breaking chains, reform, transform. Gunning on for justice, rage intense. Bringing kids home from this broken fence. Corruption weighs heavy, laws collapse. Kids go missing behind their maps. Family shattered, cries dulled by fights. CPS takes them in the dead of night. But Gunner speaks of brighter days, cut through the lies, light ablaze. Family shattered, cries dulled by fights. CPS takes them in the dead of night. But Gunner speaks of brighter days, cut through the lies, light ablaze. Behind their maps.
Hey look, this for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on. But now it's war, this gunning foe, CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunner got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They break breaking our hearts. Been doing it for years, now we riding with Gunner. And we got the proof, sworn under oath. Now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken a hit. Now it's off of Davis popping, and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people. Corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. The Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait, wait.
Sir, place your hands behind your back.
You can't be
Hands behind
serious.
your back, Judge.
I'm in the middle of a trial. What's happening?
Quiet in the gallery, please.
Left hand, sir. This is
They're
outrageous.
cuffing the judge. You are under arrest for obstruction of justice. Will
Good evening. Welcome to Gunning for CPS. I'm your host, Gunner. Another awesome edition. We just wrapped up the Declaration of Independence. And if you guys have not seen that, you really need to go back and see those things to understand your rights and why we took and stood for what we did, even as a country, to become who we are. I hope you guys would enjoy that little AI clip that we found about the sheriff's deputies, if they were doing their proper job in the courtroom. When judges violate the law or the Constitution, they have a sworn duty and are supposed to be specifically trained to do just in that video what was done when the judge um, steps over the Constitution. But the way these courts are now subject to that, we are subject to the bar, and those bar judges selected by the bar, recommended by the bar, yes, approved by your governors, but that have an interest of not to protect the people or to the law, but to those systems of the state, and understanding that your sheriff's department and the duties of your duly elected sheriff is to actually protect the people of the county, to include that of the state and or federal government's overreach, which is why that deputy is placed there. But we know today, due to lack of training and lack of knowledge and power shift in control, that is not true anymore, which is why these state systems are established the way that they are, to feel that the judge and or magistrates have more powers than the deputies, are elected officials, not people that were appointed. That is the power of the people, and we can remove those people. That's the beauty that they don't like with somebody that is appointed, or appointed actor, or this and that, that's not elected. That doesn't allow us the chance to recuse those people or pull them out if they're screwing up, which is the power the state holds over the people. Well, they're elected bureaucrats, they're elected people. We work for the state, we represent the state. That's not the case. And the sheriff, if you guys have not watched shows where the Punisher has been a guest, or we've been a guest on their show, Tiff and the Punisher, quite a few other shows, we've talked about this several times. With this being the duty of that sheriffs have sold out to the state and listened to what the state says, and a lot of these other things over taking policies and procedures and not holding the Constitution, or actually asking the question, is this constitutional, to even go through their head of the things they're being ordered to do, or the instructions the states, or even the policies and procedures that are out there, whether or not they're even constitutional to follow. And it's a violation of what they were elected to do, which is to protect us. We elect people that are supposed to be taking and protecting the masses or or the people they represent. And that is not what this country has come down to today. In a lot of places, I'm not saying all, there are some representatives, I believe, that have a little bit more with it, but a lot of bureaucracy. But the issue with that is thinking that the average person during the time that our founding fathers had put this together, this country, that everybody was pretty much on the same page. And the idea was leave me the hell alone and don't tax me for something when there's, I'm not getting a say in anything with it. As far as import and export tax, but for the average person was, give me my land, leave me alone. And unless I've harmed somebody or injured somebody's business and or property, which business is a property, leave me alone. You have no right to interact with me, because that's the way the Constitution was formed. That was true freedom. I could do what I want. And it had to be the person that you say that you were impinging upon their freedoms, not just a bullshit complaint of, their dogs barking and this, and all these other things and stupid things like HOAs have policies like that. You'll get fined for that. That's unconstitutional. HOAs cannot take and do things that are unconstitutional. You can challenge them. You can challenge anybody in a federal court, which once again, they don't tell you this. And the reason they don't tell you this is a huge thing. Now, Ashley Clark, you've addressed the new bill or anything that's supposed to be presented tomorrow. It will be on the CPS Breaking News Network, which is the network that we're a part of. They will be doing, I believe, a live there. I believe Tiff and the Punisher are both supposed to be there with several others for this to be put on the record, to be proposed. But as we know, some of these bills can go back and forth. And from my understanding, and I could be, once again, from my understanding, this is going straight to the Senate. So this has bypassed the House of Representatives for whatever reason, but there are Senate bills or bills that Senate can introduce. So we're looking forward to a lot of that. Changes as things progress, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of moving parts, and we've been telling you guys, as we begin to peel this onion of agenda and power and money and everything else being stripped away that is not even supposed to be there, that our country, we don't know what true freedom really looks like yet under the Constitution, because we've never lived it. And that's what we're finding out. We've got institutions that are doing jobs, that have jobs and very well-paying jobs, that is based off of fraud and stealing of somebody else's stuff, which is a violation of constitutional rights. A state can't steal from you. That's unbelievable. You'll have to forgive me. I was a little parched, but it was good. Little bit of lemon water, and I use not lemon, but lime. I drink lime with my water, but I use a specific one. I don't use just specific lime juice. I get a lime juice that actually comes out of the Keys, which is actually just a tinge bit sweet to it, which is very nice. But guys, we've got some news for you. Remember, we broke a story here on this network and on this channel nationwide of the story of nurses saying that CPS was coming in and paying them money to give false drug tests, to steal babies, that they were being given trips or other things through the social workers. There was programs where they would CPS would donate money to a particular, drug company or how all that stuff's, or a non-conglomerate like an NGO, and go in there and say, hey, we'd really like to sponsor the nurses, maybe take them on a trip, or we're going to offer training, through this. We're going to sponsor training, and it's here this year, instead of it being, in the middle of, Gary, Indiana, down at the somewhere down that way, or some of those other places are downtown Detroit. I mean, in the middle of winter, let's add the middle of winter, not the fact of the thing, but it's just really miserable. Compared to we're going to Tahiti, and you're going to, this is part of our conference, and it's like a vacation for them, that they get incentives like this. And they've admitted this to us. I've talked to these nurses and said, yes, and showed me the evidence that they've had of yes, look, here's by this company, that company. We get little incentives that go to training, or here, go to our training, or we'll do a little drawing for somebody to go. We got 5 positions. You got, yeah, and these nurses out here, if some of you nurses are watching, oh yeah, they do that all the time. Yeah, no kidding. I wonder why. And then they teach you little things on how to take and do things where somebody pays off somebody, or somebody's got an issue. And we told you about this thing where they're doing, the hospitals are doing drug tests on not only the mother, but some do it on the umbilical cord, some do it on the baby. You know, there's different methods, this and that. It depends on the testing method, but that they were dirtying up these things either with dirty tests from the manufacturer they knew were dirty, and throwing these things off, and getting people's children taken that have never taken drugs in their life, that are getting drug tested. It was a Fourth Amendment violation of seizure of your personal bodily fluid, was used to medically help you, not be used against you. Matter of fact, what these hospitals are doing by doing these drug tests are constitutional rights violations. So if that's something you've gone on, I would seriously consider the argument of filing on that. Obviously, I can't because men don't have babies. Obviously, we'll make that clear, that that women that have children can go in there and be tested, and that's a violation of your Fourth Amendment. I never signed off for you to run or to give permission for this. That is and there's the thing, we bring back big pharma, and you bring big pharma into place, you guys start filing those lawsuits that had those tests ran on you, and you file it under Fourth Amendment violation. Show me where I signed to, other than for my medical treatment, for my well-being, for you to test me for anything. And let me understand why this is so important, that you guys and you mothers need to start filing lawsuits. Seriously, I highly, if that's happened and you've been popped for something like that, I would start filing, because that's a Fourth Amendment violation. And there's already case law on this stuff. And you guys start hammering the hell out of them. And here's why. Somebody else that we know has gotten a call, has had a baby in the past 72 hours, that they did a drug test on the mother, and it popped positive for methamphetamines. Now, the mother, no way in hell, even tried to hide it from the husband, was getting ready to call in CPS to steal her child. Literally, the floor was aware of it, the whole night. They admitted to all this. And then she said, no, there's no damn way. Test me again. And this was through a urine test. Now, that's illegal as hell. One, you didn't have a warrant to do that drug test. And for a hospital or private entity to pull stuff other than what you're obligated to do for my health, great. If I'm sick, treat me. But why were you testing me for stuff without my consent, without probable cause? Because I didn't walk in drunk, messed up, or high when I went to come in here to give birth. No way. Well, they did a second test. And guess what? Negative. You got a huge problem now. Because this mother is aware of what's going on, heard our broadcast, spoke with them on what needs to get done, because this hospital has now put this family, this child, in jeopardy from being kidnapped over a false drug test, and saying that they'll do an internal investigation, and that the hospital CEO is going to be in to talk to him, so on, so all this other stuff. And, you know, to assure him. So this is where the cover up happens, guys. Why? This is a crime. This is a criminal act that has happened, that you have tried to frame somebody. Okay? Frame somebody. And you got caught. Well, it could be a bad test. Well, then you need to notify everybody about that test. And if a child was taken under that test, or under that batch of tests that it now knows, has known that there is a faulty test in there, you need to return all the children. There's one scenario. And then you need to contact the manufacturer of that and not use it again. but you also need to make it public to every person that has paid you under the disclosure agreement, not a cover up. This is how cover ups happen, guys. We're going to give you some information. Or we had a bad nurse that had to test positive and somebody switched something. That's called chain of custody, which means every urine test that you have collected from in the hospital or done in this hospital that has popped for anything now has a chain of custody issue and is considered inadmissible. Now, that is going to cause a very, very huge, and this is why the standards are so high that they're not meeting, and they make supposedly the money they do in the medical industry to make sure these things don't happen at all. And they're going to say isolate it. No, it's not going to happen. Pull it back. One positive is enough to take a child. It's enough to go through here. Let alone we already know the mother's already informed that this has already happened across the country and that somebody was caught. We know that CPS is possibly, now this particular woman had a case with CPS in another state. Now the question becomes, especially with what we know personally between Tennessee and Kentucky, you'll cross state lines to get at fucking people. And they already have a social worker or CPS worker in the hospital. How hard is it that that person is a specialist? Now I'm going to play devil's advocate. You have to forgive me, weather's changed. Yeah, a little nasty, getting drier, colder. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. You have a social worker in the hospital where they've contracted with the state or with the state subcontractor to have a social worker there and thing. How hard is it for CPS, a corrupt criminal organization, domestic terrorist organization, and I can call it that because I have the evidence to back it up. So you want to go with me at court before a jury? Because I'll prove it. Matter of fact, we're going to have that chance, ain't we? There's the issue. There's the problem. Tell me how you signed a contract with them that they hold a license to issue. So you're saying to contract that you have to have this one to be open to have your hospital license open. That's how the state has gotten a hold of all these hospitals and everything else through coercion. They hold their state license. You must comply with what the state does. This is the true deep state, deep government, shadow government we've been talking about that's been going around. Is it's not in the federal government, it's in the states. It's mass corruption. And this is where it all goes back to it. It's not a joke. It's provable. It's done with the money. And all they do is they do from all the individual states when they get enough to have somebody in the higher realm of the federal, that's where they get the big money. But the states are eating this up. And look at your states here. The other thing, we did a cost analysis one night of all 50 states. And do you realize that in a majority of the states, 40% of the state's revenue comes from the federal government? Some states, it's even higher. Now, cut that off. What's the state's going to do? There's no more money. That's how this cycle of money works. Get it from the federal, spread it out amongst the states for our own agenda, and then push it back up. Now everybody's making money. And we've created more jobs. See how that, we don't want those jobs created by the governments. We need less of them. We need more people going to work in real productive damn jobs to benefit, not mooch off everybody else, let alone illegally and unconstitutionally. And it's all coming out. And I hope the people from Tennessee and Kentucky are watching this. You know why? Because just this past week, I'm going to take a drink because it's worth it. Ooh, that tastes so good. Now, let me tell you why. Because we filed in the Tennessee Appellate Court this week on our original case, so where we went through the family court and then appealed it up to civil court. So we were in a civil courtroom by the time we were done of so much illegal, unconstitutional stuff here in Blount County, Tennessee. And it's now on the record and they can't do jack. Their hands are tied because it's been filed. They violated, not only Tennessee code was very specific that if you have a forensic interview, now this law has changed here recently, I believe 2024, to where the child had to testify what was in the forensic interview was correct, or the forensic interviewer had to take and swear to it. But no matter who does it for that, for the forensic interview, the other requirement is that the child has to be made available for cross-examination. Now that makes 100% sense for the code that would line up with due process under the Constitution. Here's the problem. Neither time when we were in the court did cross-examination ever happen. Before the family court, nobody testified that the forensic interview was true. Now everybody turns around, well, why is this and that? Why? Because in our particular case, there was evidence, and we have a letter from the director at the time of the Blount County Child Advocacy Center admitting that they delete evidence every 15 days of the common areas and other areas, which under the requirement for a CAC center nationally to receive federal funds, Title funds, Title IV funds, reimbursements, they must be compliant with this. And that includes documenting and retaining all documentation of any and all interaction between the parents and or the children with the state workers. They delete that every 15 days. You know why? Because exactly what happened in our case, criminal activity. A CPS worker lying, manipulating the contract when it's voluntary, forcing to file something, forging documents, forging signatures. We have him on. They covered him. That's right. The Child Advocacy Center covered for CPS, criminal activity, because they're used to getting away with it. And there was even, here's the sad part, there was even a Blount County deputy stationed in that Child Advocacy Center that watched all this, heard all this, whatever it may be, and did absolutely nothing while this crime was occurring. Not a damn thing. Folks, that's RICO, that's mass, and you guys wonder, wow, this is why we got into federal court, because it's this bad and we can prove it. But for this to come around with the same thing with robbing a mother from her child for a false drug test, let me put to you something else, guys. It was in the same state of Tennessee, that they tried to get this woman's baby, that she caught the hospital in a lie, fabricating evidence. And of course, they're going to take, and I told her, I said, watch, you blow this and up to this, and they're going to give you a nice fat check, or they're going to coerce you into something and sign a non-disclosure, because that means millions and billions of dollars and exposing a criminal investigation. Because now that this has happened, she has every right to call in both what's called TBI, which is the state investigation, and actually the FBI, because they have a CPS issue in another case in another state that may have reached across state lines. Yeah, it's that corrupt. This is the shit. This is the for real rubber meets the road, guys. Every bit of it. This is why, a lot of you guys turn around, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, or, oh, well, no, we're talking blatant, coming directly out for, falsifying shit, evil shit to destroy families and steal children. This is the basis of CPS, trafficking. And we have the evidence for it over and over and over again. So going back to our case, no cross-examination. Well, the child was never made available for the cross-examination. Plus, it was already tainted with. The kid was coached. It was just easy as possible. You got an hour with the kid, an hour-long forensic interview. There's plenty of time to do that. And who do you trust? I don't trust you. I trust you coached somebody. As well as you forged my name, as well as you did this. I don't believe you because you're a bunch of criminals. Because you never did anything to turn around and do it properly. You got caught every step of the way by somebody that paid attention, and you're going to get screwed. Well, here's the thing, that the way that it reads is cross-examination. Now, the judge in the civil case, the first one, there was no cross-examination whatsoever, and nobody testified that that was true. Therefore, it should have never been entered into evidence in the first place at all under that magistrate. And the magistrate's required to know this. Why? Because it's a standard. It's a thing they must take and meet for the requirements of evidence. 24-7-123. Tennessee Code. Violate it like hell. Going to the judge of the civil court. My attorney turns around and says, hey, are we going to have the child here for cross-examination? This, and that. Well, if you want to take and have the child, it's going to take and have to be on your witness list. It should have been on your witness list. The judge interpreted the code. That's not the way the code reads. You don't get to interpret. You must follow the rules, judge. You don't get that discretion. This is the God complex these arrogant bastards have. They can't follow the rules. They look for ways to bend or twist the rules. The word says cross-examine. Does not mean that it has to be on my witness list, but it's a requirement for them to have it on theirs. They must be made available, not for what? Questioning, but for, the word is cross-examination. Cross-examination means it's their witness and you get to cross-examine, and it never happened. And when that judge says that's your requirement, that's when the judge forbid cross-examination in her courtroom. And a lot of you guys say, well, what this going to do? Well, a lot of my judges and magistrates and everything else, a lot of this, you guys probably heard some more, a lot of similarities, because we had the same judge and magistrate in a lot of this stuff, is with Jessica Saxton, that's now on out on her own, doing her own thing. Yes, she's from the same county and state that I was from, that she has against some of the similar actors. But I have them on greater crimes. I can prove it in my case. You didn't have it. Why? Because here's the record, and we had it transcribed. We actually had a court reporter, paid for a court reporter to be in that hearing with that judge. And it's not on the record. Here's the official transcript. Why? We paid for it. We paid for the transcription. It is properly transcribed. It is signed, sealed, everything, got the notary report, everything on it. This is the official court translation. You're screwed. I have both the judge and the magistrate on acts of treason and violating their oath. 100%, because it's not there. When you go back before the recordings, it's not there. You've got several people that will testify. The child never showed up. And you know what the funny thing is? In our case, and you guys have probably had this before, it's the only thing they had. There was nothing else there than a made-up story by CPS to frame and destroy a family, all by fabrication. Only this time it was done in collaboration with somebody else getting that federal reimbursement, Title IV, that's Child Advocacy Center. That's why they work together so well. Now you're caught. Now it's fraud. Everything the Blount County Child Advocacy Center has done is now fraud. Every dime that they have received in reimbursement is now fraud of the federal government. That's a criminal act. There's going to be some arrest warrants coming here real soon. Working on finishing up all the criminal filings. Here's the other thing you guys do. File in your state appellate court if you can find something to overturn it. You just look for it. And if not, proceed with your federal case like what we did, and then it will be revealed. Why? Because the law changed or this happened. I didn't know that existed. I figured that was dealt with because my attorney dealt with it. Nope. Matter of fact, when I read the code, it blew my mind. Both the judge and magistrate should have known the requirement for the state CPS to enter this stuff, even as evidence, did not meet the standard, and they knew better. And one of them especially kept it out on purpose. That is treason, my friends. And yeah, I will seek to all the way for both of them for what they did to my family under their military tribunal. That I will seek after that is done 100% the death penalty after they've had their military tribunal and found guilty of treason. And for me to say that is not threatening a judge, let me be very clear. That is the way the law works. Judge commits treason. I accuse of treason. She goes before the military tribunal because that's not seen in any other court. I'm accusing you of treason and sedition. With this evidence, it's enough to come pick your ass up. Then you go to a military tribunal. And once you're found guilty, there are multiple different ways to do it. You can pay money, which is one thing, or with the death penalty. And then you get 5 choices on how you die, which is Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Why? Because the military tribunal cannot be held on U.S. soil. There you go. Now you see the purpose for Gitmo. And if I'm not mistaken, y'all are going to love me for this one because this is going to start a whole bunch of stuff. Isn't Alcatraz on an island all its own? And who owns that? Anybody ever look into that? We can throw money to rehab something, but the question is do we own it? Is it considered U.S. soil? But you guys find these ways to do this. And I was just talking, listen, we may be in the midst or the cusp of filing another lawsuit, very, very specific to American with Disabilities Act, as we're finding and educating more about this and how these courts, now this is enough that would shock and overturn in multiple ways to completely tear down your local county courthouse and overturn everything they've ever touched and or juvenile thing if they're not ADA compliant. Because if you're not ADA compliant in certain aspects, which we're going through, it's also a due process violation. That's unconstitutional, hence illegal, hence must be overturned. See, guys, we're working hard on many fronts. We're not just talking one in one case. We're thinking of multiple things we can file to where you guys locally, then you get together with your people there locally too, and you start overturning your cases and getting everybody's cases overturned, because then they're going to have to do something because there's too much money going out. Now they're considered, uninsurable. They can't have judges. They can't have sheriff. They can't have this. They can't have that. Now what are we? We're unincorporated again because they can't afford it because they're still paying it. So what's the choices? They're going to try and increase your taxes, and you're going to tell them, hell no, seize their damn property. Because the insurance companies have to come up with this. But then they go just like you and I, having a bunch of teenage drivers wrecking a bunch of cars. What's going to happen to your insurance? Holy crap! Do you know what I pay? Oh my gosh, I can't believe what I pay for a teenager on insurance. We've all been there. It goes through the damn roof. Now that kid ends up screwing up and wrecking a bunch of cars. Now you're not only out the cars, you're also paying for the insurance, and that's how this works. It's very similar for you guys to understand, to grasp your head around this. That's how we wear them out, is in the courtroom and taking their money. There's no money to pay judges. We got to pay off these lawsuits. Because they win one, we'll recover from it here in the next so many years. It's called profit and loss. Every business does it. Yeah, they're structured like businesses too. Huge stuff. And like I said, it'll blow your mind when you go through this stuff. Now we've got just a little bit more. Got a few things. Like I said, I hope you guys liked the clip before, but I got another clip I want to share with you. And some of these here I just found, and this is just to share some information, some knowledge. So you guys can get a hold of this and go, holy crap. And yes, we work with a lot of others. But I want to show you this one I caught on child support. You guys think child support just goes for the money and they don't do this and they don't do that and they don't profit from it. Check this out.
Well, thousands pay child support, but News 5 Investigates discovered their payments don't always go to the custodial parent or the child.
Chief investigative reporter Eric Ross found evidence of the Department of Human Services keeping the cash for themselves. Eric.
Robin Elizabeth, that's right. Our 2-month-long investigation found money that's supposed to support children going right back into the state's pocket.
Nicholas Turner and Audrey Mead have a 2-year-old daughter. Although the couple is not together anymore, Turner wants to be part of his daughter's life and pays child support. Money he expects to go to his ex.
Money's going missing and isn't paying it.
Turner noticed not all of the money he was paying ended up in Mead's account. Court documents show he is supposed to pay $366 every month beginning in May 2017. He admits he missed a payment in May, but tried to make the situation right the following month. Accounting ledgers show Turner sent Mead a total of $766 through the online child support payment system, yet the state only deposited $366 into Mead's account.
No one can tell me where the money's going.
Between June 1st and the end of October, Turner paid a total of $1,935 in child support, but News 5 Investigates learned his ex only received $1,386. So where did the remaining $549 end up? We spent weeks attempting to follow the money trail, and while the Department of Human Services would not tell us specifically where it was deposited, they did tell us they kept it. Their reason, Miss Mead also receives food assistance from the state,
which means she allegedly waived her right to collect past due child support.
They don't want to admit to administrative fees. They don't want to admit that extra amount they're collecting per person like that, cumulatively over tens of thousands of people, pay for judges and other people's retirement funds. Or the child support agency that collects so much that's supposed to be getting that off of, when they get that money, they're getting that reimbursement under Title IV. They're skimming. This is why you can have they don't tell you this, and I did this when I got divorced from my ex, is we had an agreement. X amount of dollars per child till the child is 18 every month. Just that simple. Part of the divorce decree signed by the judge. Private contract. That's called private contract. When she later, during the end of this, and then assisted, aided, and abetted with the stealing of my son from my custody, which is real cute how they did this, because I wasn't working. I was very sick. I was going through everything else. And the judge put me, well, you can pay to see your son. I can't afford to pay to see my son. I'm sick. I'm closing down my business. I'm doing this. I have heart failure. I can't do that. So even though it looks like that, judge, that's not coercive with what I have. I can't afford, at the time, the things that were going on was $200-300 an hour for a service to come out, it's an outside service to sit with you to do this. I've not done anything. That is now also a criminal act of kidnapping and child custody interference. Because now this court, those that were held accountable and kept my son from me, interfered with the contract I had with my ex. But then my ex helped them with some corrupt stuff too. So yeah, she's going to deal with lying with the court as well, with criminal charges. But guys, you got to let go of that bitterness with this and that, especially finding somebody, if that tells you anything about somebody's character, to kick somebody while they're being persecuted and down to make yourself feel better. Maybe that gives you an idea of the type of ex I was dealing with. But she took me back to, on top of that, here's the other part of it. Took me back to a child support court because the court ordered her to have him, because I couldn't have him because of everything with this bullshit case, and tried to get me for more child support. And I never broke the contract. The contract was, no matter what, it had nothing to do. It wasn't based on income. It wasn't based on this. It wasn't based on who had more custody or anything else. The agreement was this amount of money per month till the child turned 18. That's it. Bottom line. No other stipulations. Couldn't read anything. It was clean, cut, and dry. Private contract. The state cannot interfere with the contract. Matter of fact, when we went to child support court over this and they realized it was in the divorce decree and I called it a private contract signed off by a judge, they had a huge issue. This is the way you're supposed to do your agreements with this and that, is to help or set those stipulations within a private contract, and you both agree to it, you both signed it, where you're both good for it. Those type of things. That's a contract. The state cannot come in with its courts and say, if you have not broken that contract, they cannot interfere with that, regardless of what the contract's about, is contract law. There was nothing illegally done in it. Those were the terms. The terms have been met, and nothing has never missed a payment. Got a check, I wrote checks for every bit of it, and I have canceled checks for every single one of those payments. So now what are you going to do? That's fraud upon the court. Just her filing for a child support modification or everything else. Matter of fact, they accuse me, well, you've never paid child support the entire time you guys have been divorced, trying to get me for back child support. I go, no, there, cupcake. I got a private contract. Did you read the divorce decree? I've never missed a payment. I have paid her according to my contract. And when I pointed that out, boy, they backed up. You know, they still commit credit fraud on me to this day. Never have a contract with them, but they show up in my credit report illegally. Credit fraud. Got them on that too. Yeah, we got a lot of problems, guys. They seem to want to break the law like they feel comfortable to do it and go through their spiel and see how many people can screw you over in this system, all the way from child support court to the family court doing illegal stuff, so on and so forth. But not to allow cross-examination. Now, yes, it is a violation of the code, but it's also the constitutional right under due process, which is a constitutional right for you to face your accuser. Now, we can add into it, there was no jury, even though they tried to put a criminal code on it. We can do that in civil court. Where's my jury? You didn't have that either. You've got so many problems with me, you just don't know what to do with me or do with us now. Because now there's a federal case saying what we said. Now we've gone back before the state court of appeals of going, here, we'll just prove it for you. Because it ain't nothing that's negotiable, because either it's there or it's not. And it's a standard you must meet, which is, it says it in the code. You must meet that. Because now that's gone. And the other thing we did, yeah, we got the CPS caseworker that was on it too for perjury inside the courtroom. Why? Collect your evidence, guys. When you get into these courts, the number one thing you got to do is collect the evidence. And then you got to be able to sift through the evidence that you have, what has happened to you, and point out and be able to articulate, excuse me, every single crime, both within your code of your state and within the federal code and the Constitution, and fight in the right courts. And let them hang themselves and feel good till you start taking their jobs, and then you start taking their personal stuff, and then they're going to cry about the injustice of the system, the same system they work for, the same system they benefited for, the same system that paid their bills, and the same system they spoiled their damn kids to be that snotty-nosed little shit, possibly, in your school system to show off for all the other kids, my parents are better than your parents. And create that hierarchy within the public schools information to reassert the structure of society that they want, even in public schools. Because if they didn't, they would have a strict dress code, nothing over this and that. They could put price, they could do whatever they want. They don't. They could go to a uniform, but they don't, to make every kid equal. Once again, but they don't do it. If this was about the children, which it's not, It's about the lies and manipulations and control and the money. And now they're fully exposed. And when we talk about tip of the spear, this case is going to go, like I said, it's going to go on. It's going to blow everybody's mind. You guys are going to be able to say, hey, I've been following that case for the longest time. That's the one out of Tennessee. Yeah, that's the, oh my gosh, the stuff they uncovered. Have you heard about this? And then they don't want us educating. But here's the other thing that we've done. This is why you guys turn around. Well, I need help in my case. I need help in that. This is too important to us. We don't care to educate you to figure the shit out yourselves. Kind of like wipe your own rear end. Here's some knowledge, but we can't do it for you. You're going to have to, if your kids are that important to you, you need to pick up some new skills, get some education where you didn't before, because that's how much your kids should mean to you. I'm going to smarten up. I'm not just going to sit by and do this. And I'm saying, I got to get out of the mully grubs. I got to get out of this headspace and all these emotions, and I got to put my thinking cap on. Yes, it's going to hurt, but you got to push through that pain to get your kids back. That's what the psychological warfare that CPS wants to do to you, is keep you wrapped up in your emotions where you can't think logically and catch them at the crimes that they're doing. As soon as they get you caught up in your emotions, you've lost. And a lot of you don't want to hear this, but you know what? Your feelings are your responsibilities, but that's the truth. You may not want to hear it, but that's 100% the cold hard truth. You want to fight and you want to get in this fight, you got to shut some of those emotions off, or put them in a box, or put them somewhere, and get your thinking cap on, and get your nose in a book or on research and all these other things, and make it make sense. And don't think that you've got it, because there's always another step. Always be on the lookout for more and more and more, and build your case. There is no time limit. There's no statute of limitations on constitutional rights violations. When you get it, well, that's what I want to pay a lawyer for, and this and that. They're not going to help you. They only go so far. Even good friends of mine that are attorneys and several others, there's times I've said something and this and that, and we've gone over things, attorneys, professors, this and that, and I'll say something that they didn't even think of. Oh, I forgot about that, or I didn't realize that, or this and that. And the law is not that hard. Keep it about common law, because when you go to the federal court, yeah, there's some paperwork, and you got to figure out the way that the paperwork is worded. So learn on it. You learned how to adjust to going from smoking to vaping. You move from this app to that app. When a new phone comes out, you sure learn how to pick that shit up and use that damn thing out. Don't give me excuses. That's bullshit. And you may not like it, but I'll call you out on your bullshit. Those are excuses. If your kids mean that much to you, you're going to figure out a way to fight. You're going to find out who's winning and go towards there and gather info, but no two cases are the same. So you can't just do it this way, or you just can't do it this way. And there's a lot of other people out there too, man. They're doing stuff like this weekend with the bill on that was talking about earlier. The things that are going on, the proposal of the bill. Let me scroll through here. Let's see. There's Ashley. There's Miss. Ashley was the one that did it. Clark, caught you, girl. Ashley brought it up too about this bill being promoted. And I always say her name wrong all the time. But she's over there in DC. She is a lobbyist. I've talked to her, Francesca Armano, I think it is. And you can forgive me. I'm bad with names, guys. But listen, yeah, her movement. Yeah, she is proposing a bill. It is coming to more for argument. There is going to be, from my understanding too, yes, there will be testimony on this bill. There are several people on their way to DC for this meeting that is happening sometime next week. I think it's going on a couple different days, and there may be some things that are publicized, some that are not. Don't know all the details. Once again, we wish them much luck and much love with what's going on there, and with Francesca's bill being proposed. I know there's a lot going on there. I've had several responses. What's going in from our case, from different ones have reached out. Connie Reguli, that's here in Tennessee, she's reached out, getting better understanding of it, pulling the documents. agreeing with everything we're filing. Yes, it's going to work. Everything there, they must meet these requirements, so on and so forth. Several other groups, like I said, we've heard from you guys, our audience that catches us every week, that we take in, we deal with. There's a lot going on. I think there's a couple rallies going around, all of next week, off and on quite a few things. Guys, there's other stuff going on in Spain. I don't know if you guys have followed the world news, but basically their National Guard and some of their people have overthrown the government, the Congress there in Spain, and overtook and arrested their elected officials for the immigration problem of them being overthrown by a Muslim nation trying to overtake Spain, that the people have overtook it and going through that way. Yeah, this Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, there. I know there was a couple days event, but I think there was something else maybe they were talking about for later on in the week, because we know a couple of people that are going to that event and going to events. Um, like I said, I believe Tiff and the Punisher are supposed to be there, and a few others from our network that's going to be covering that story. So you guys just got to take and just really get in there and really, we have a lot of love for these guys. Other groups like Meg Stand. You guys have seen her all over different things, stuff like that. She's been getting into a lot of things. Guys, we're moving. This is all, once again, we're coming together. Each one is doing their own thing. And, mine with the case and just full exposure and going in from this aspect from the courts, with Francesca doing things with the bill. Meg's doing a lot of movements. There's been a lot of other movements going on. I think Dave's doing the Family Fraud Project. There's a lot of things that are going. There's a lot of people, but it's not just here in the United States, guys. This is happening. We've got in contact with people that follow us all the way from New Zealand to Spain to this. I mean, we're a international news organization, so this broadcast goes around the world. Just so you guys know, and people do watch it on the other side of the world. You'd be surprised the amount of stuff that we get. It's really, really cool. But I want to share with this other video, and you guys need to watch this as we're sharing information, and we're going from here. I've got another one for you guys. I don't know if you've caught this, but check this one out. This one will blow your mind.
So let's talk about 1986. People don't know about 1986. Brandy, you want to tell them about 1986?
So in 1986, under Ronald Reagan, Congress signed into law the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act.
Wasn't that the exact act that took away all liability from the vaccine companies?
Yes. The vaccine manufacturers went to Ronald Reagan and said, we need to be exempt from liability. So many parents are starting to come after us and sue us over their children being injured by vaccines. We are going to stop making vaccines altogether unless you remove the liability.
So explain that in layman's terms. What does that mean exactly when they took away all liability?
Let's say you are in a car accident and the car seat that your child is in is faulty, and your child is injured or dies because of the faultiness of the car seat. You can sue the manufacturer. If your child is injured or killed by a vaccine, you can no longer sue the manufacturer. What happens now, because of this Vaccine Injury Act, every vial of a vaccine, every time your child gets a vaccine, they have a 75-cent tax that is put onto that vaccine. That 75-cent tax goes into an account that is now connected to VAERS. You file a VAERS report, which only 1% of people actually report injuries to VAERS. Then it goes into a special court, and they determine, okay, yes, your child was injured, and you can get a small settlement from the tax that was put on the vaccine. But you can no longer...
So let's talk about 1986. People don't know about 1986. Brandy.
Okay, guys, there you have it. I hope you paid it. If you guys missed that, that's actually posted. It's actually posted to my personal account, the Gunnar Everett's account. If you guys follow me there, that is important information. I think I'm going to try and get that copy and paste it over to the page as well for you guys. But yeah, that's talking about vaccines. Yeah, now you kind of get a picture why of what's going on and how it's been going on and how they've insulated each other to where we just said, here, let me take and send people from a company or a business in this particular state, or they're in multiple states. Let me take and pay for somebody to, or even all the way up to the president. Hey, we're going to quit making vaccines if you don't give us what we want. That's called extortion. Um, if somebody would file, I believe that they've come through on that and actually file and have that repealed because when you're an affected party, I can't afford it, and that would be a class action lawsuit. Um, Once again, against technically the president of that time, the country, as well as the other. But I don't know if that would be one that would have to go to the world court or not, depending on what it was. But yeah, protection. But like I said, they've got a way to file now if you were injured. So this is a way too of saying file this, get your claims in, and everything else. They're slowly peeling back what was done, and there's even more coming every day, more information. Um, it's huge what goes on, guys, and you guys got to really take and watch out there because they're not out there doing for the best interest. They care about selling something, and the concept of the American family was worst case scenario if anything ever happened, and this is why we were based on what we were of farms and other things and not really so much cities, is that even if the world turned or the nation went crazy or even the time of it went bankrupt or anything like all these other things, why they collected taxes on things, once again, a lot of people that had land or had especially during the stock market and the Great Depression in this country, the people that did survive was those that had farms. They would sell so much off that they could export or this, that. And then others that if they were really good, there was people I knew of, one family that owned an apple orchard and that they would sell off just what they needed um, of the apple farms to pay their taxes and pay their bills, their requirements. And they never went hungry. They always traded, and that doesn't require cash. But they're not going to tell you that anymore. They want you to pay for everything with a card or cash, and they want to trade. They want to make money off of every transaction. And if you and I make a trade on something, there's no there's no profit to it. Yeah, there's nothing to it. It's of equal value. We're trading it. There's no value to each other. It's one for the other. There's no tax involved in that, and they don't want to get away from it. People used to call that trading, horse trading, whatever it may be. But it's the way the farmers did it, and it's still 100% legal. You don't have to have that stuff, and that's what they don't want to tell you. That does away from that stuff. Yeah, I heard about that, John. The Magna Carta Charter was removed from Canada's Constitution. We've got to watch a lot of this stuff from these slick people that are in there that they appoint and elect that are putting stuff in there, and they're voting to remove stuff like that. This is why Spain is where it's at. They have turned their back on the people. And it's not a ruling class. It's not that. They want what we have and what our Constitution guarantees. But with us, we were too smart for a while, but then they dumbed us down over a period of time. They did it through the public school system, not teaching them how to write cursive so they can't enter into contract. And they can't read the original founding documents, such as the Constitution. This everybody says, oh, well, that's kind of that. No, you need to be able to go back and read it in its original text and understand it. But they don't do that because it's about control. It's about power. It's about manipulation. It's not about leave you alone and let you live the American dream and enjoy your family and not kill yourself for what? A paycheck. Why do I need a paycheck for what? Because back then they grew up on farms and had animals and did this and did that. And they just went to work to what? Pay some of the taxes or some of the other things they had to have. And they lived free. No obligation of stuff. I don't need to go in this. I don't have to have a Walmart bill every week. I can grow my own and put my efforts instead of work. I put it into my food. And then what I have extra in my food, I can trade on that. What do you got? What do I got? And then it doesn't cost us that. But then there goes their whole fucking societal fucking point. I don't live to eat. And how many people are starving? People shouldn't be starving if everybody was growing and providing. Even in some of these apartment complexes, everything else, a small herb garden, this, that, anything you can grow that you would eat and consume, tomatoes. But there's even apartments and landlords that these big corporations own. You can't have stuff like that that bear fruit. Why is that? Because they are in with the grocery stores and everything else, but they're a middleman. Do you know nowadays, if you have a farm share, you don't even have to go to the grocery store? Find you a local farmer, or even a farmer in another state that has a farm share. Sign it up under a farm share. It's a legal form of getting. I can pay the farmer directly. I don't need the middleman called the grocery store. I don't want the chemicals. I don't want this. I want what comes out of the ground. It's huge. But they don't want us to know that. Why? Because it means you wouldn't have to work so damn crazy. Maybe you wouldn't have to work, both you and your wife, and work 2 jobs and 3 jobs just to make ends meet for all this other stuff. Why are you paying, once again, even Trump has brought this up. Why are we paying property taxes on something they've already bought once? You're only supposed to tax it once it's sold. If I use it over and over again, that's abuse of the tax code. And that's exactly what he's come. Well, we maintain it. No, we don't. Those are done by the Army Corps of Engineers does all the roads, all of them. That's who actually takes it over during the time of war or anything else. All these little programs, they're subletting them to create jobs in the state. So the Army Corps of Engineers doesn't do all of them, but they're supposed to. It's under their purview. So I call the city or I call the county, hey, come relay. No, that's under the Army Corps of Engineers. You have to take care of all the bridges and roads. That was the infrastructure under the federal to make sure it was done. It was never meant to break down that other way. Abuse, man. It's about money. How much can I rob? And this is why all this is coming out. Now people are waking up. It's not a conspiracy theory. The proof is coming out. People are being called into court and being arrested for this stuff. The amount of money that NGOs, non-government organizations, or programs, whatever it may be, and whatever label they take and have, there's millions and billions of dollars being funneled that, and even through your state. And this is how people prefer to work. They're not offering a service whatsoever to make our lives better, or something we can produce to sell, because that's what we're supposed to be doing it on, is produce something we can sell or trade, both domestically and internationally. Guys, it just amazes me. Well, guys, I got one more video to share with you guys. I think you'll appreciate this one. This one's from our friend Meg over there at Meg Stand. And little cute AI thing, but I thought the video was pretty spot on. And just wanted to share this and show a little love to Meg out there, as well as some of these others are out there. We're all in this together. We're all fighting different aspects. Find your battles. You don't have to be in all of them, man. Just because you're with one doesn't mean you have to be with the other 5. Find the stuff that aligns with you, but seek the truth, guys. Don't fall in for the scams. Send some of these others. If you believe in them, great. Send your hard-earned money that way towards them. If not, invest the time. Money's easy to throw away. Your time is a valuable thing. Use that time to fight and educate for your children. But here's one right here from our good friend Meg.
No, family court wasn't born from a desire for justice, but from a need for control. Its story begins not in a courtroom, but in the 1824 New York House of Refuge, a place that promised rehabilitation for troubled kids, but operated more like a prison. By the mid-1800s, this idea expanded. The juvenile asylum opened for neglected youth, and the Children's Aid Society sent poor children into foster labor. After the Civil War, the Child Savers movement gained steam, laws that allowed the state to remove children for so-called parental malfeasance. The early 1900s saw the creation of specialized children's courts, which did away with juries and held hearings behind closed doors. This all culminated in 1962 with the official birth of the New York Family Court, a system that combined all family matters into one powerful tribunal. Today's family court still operates on this 19th century foundation. No jury, broad judicial power, and private decisions. Did you know family court wasn't born from a desire for justice, but from a need for control? Its story begins not in a courtroom, but in the 18th.
There you have it, guys.
New York.
100% accurate. Started off with greed out of New York City to traffic children. There's another story that goes with this that we took and shared with you guys on our page too. How England had it so bad that they would ship children over to this country, part of that system, making it part of our burden to increase child labor. It's fact. Do your research. It's amazing. It's been about making money in any way somebody can. Slavery was real. Child slavery was real. And it wasn't just about people that were black. It was about the Irish. It was about let's put it this way. Any and all civilizations all through the history of time at one point or another throughout history has been a slave to another country or nation. That is a fact. Every single one of them throughout time. But people are waking up, and the flow of information and knowledge is right here, guys. The internet took everybody by storm. People used it for entertainment purposes. Believe it or not, the reason the internet survived, and this is just such irony, was due to porn. The number one push for the internet to survive and do what it is today was the demand for porn. It's fact. It was the number one thing that pushed internet traffic was pornography. Once again, you don't like, those are the facts. And there's been a lot of churches and other organizations, which is why they tell you, stay off the internet. Why? Because it's of the devil. It was born out of pornography. Man, it's a tool. It's a tool like anything else, whether you use it for good or evil, is clearly the choice of the individual. The same thing about individual rights and individual responsibilities. With our freedoms and our rights comes a responsibility to guarantee those same freedoms or better for the next generation and the generations after. That's our job as citizens of this republic. It's right in there. It's nobody else's responsibility but you and I, every single person, but we don't hold each other accountable is the problem. We get by. This is why we have so many, I don't even know what the proper term is anymore. It changes so much. Chads and Karens in this country to do what they do and feel like they're right. They weren't probably properly educated. Somebody's taught them wrong. Somebody's done wrong. But that's okay because it keeps us fighting amongst ourselves, right? And this is what they scare us, that we're coming together. We're having one voice. We are dug into the ground. We are foundationally sound with what we're doing and moving forward. And that scares them. Because if one does and one won't show up, the next one's coming. The next one's coming. The next one's coming. And then it's just going to be, next thing you know, they're overwhelmed. But the thing is, there's so much truth. And now there's so many people speaking out, telling their stories. People like you that are in our audience. People that watch this. People that subscribe to, following on Facebook and other things out there. It's you guys that have stood together and encouraged others that have done this to speak up and speak out and not be quiet about the corruption and blast these judges and these people that are in law and everything else of what they're doing to make a profit, that their job is off protecting and defending others that cannot or do not have. And they're not doing it to the full capability because they're even being withheld information and knowledge. Not to fight, how to fight, what to go through. They know something isn't right, but after that, they get so down in the mouth. They're a person too, man. There's good attorneys, even friends, like I said, they've done everything they possibly can. And it's like beating their head against the wall, knowing that case should have never been fucking adjudicated the way it should with what was there. And you've run it past it, and how can you not? But once again, you're going into courts too. The other thing that they've taken out of that aspect to ensure their victory is a jury. because then you have multiple people. You have to convince not just a judge, but you got to take and convince every single member of that jury panel that crime exists. And if it doesn't mean it's innocent until proven guilty. And this is why family court systems are completely corrupt and unconstitutional and illegal. And if you say, well, oh, you call it illegal, that's right. You let me get to the point. Well, let me finish my statement over the next period of so much time, whatever it takes. I'll prove my point. And you're not going to like it. But the thing is, they've done it so inconspicuously and on the lower part of the radar for the lowest time for the past decades. Now they're doing it just blatantly. They just don't care. Because another generation has passed. Why? Because they don't have to have any feelings. Why? Because you're sending children to come after children against parents. You have weaponized the children. Because these CPS workers, how many kids you got? All of them are young, or somebody that they don't have no damn kids. Never had no kids. That's the hateful person that nobody would touch. Those are your CPS workers. It's fact. That's the majority of your CPS workers. Divorced or never had kids. Nobody would touch them. Or they're so damn young they haven't even had their first kid or even anybody looking at them. All in the name of justice. All in the name of the false flag. We are here to protect children. I can't. We can't. People have had enough. We have the evidence. We have the support. And now the tables are turned. We, the people, are coming back for what's ours, including our children. And you're all going to be held accountable, and whatever that means. Guys, thanks again for joining us this week. We've covered and caught up on quite a few things. But guys, this is happening over and over and over again. This story just blew my mind. Stealing kids over false drug tests, framing people, judges and magistrates not even following codes and laws and mandatory, so like they don't know their job and yet can say, I've been doing it for 20, 30 years. Obviously, you've been doing it wrong for 20 or 30 years. Welcome to the reckoning, folks. It's not going to get any better. We're just gonna keep blasting them and taking them all the way until they're all taken care of. We're gunning for abolishment, 100%. Won't settle for less. And if anything, we may pick the torch up so far, and then you guys move forward to the next generation. There's the beauty of it. We do this together, where it's not a thing, it's a movement. It moves so far, and it has so much steam, and that it may slow down, but it'll never die off. And then somebody else picks up the torch. That's the thing that has to be doing. We've got to watch out for each other's constitutional rights, guys. Love you. See you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. And we have a special guest coming next week. You guys are going to love this one. Tons of information, updates, everything else, everything that's been going on in the deep state and the dark government and the violation against the people. Man, I'm excited, man, for next week. Love you guys. Keep strong. Build up each other. Hold each other up. Make sure you encourage everybody to share their stories. Keep kicking masks. Keep filing those cases, both state and federal. Don't give up. Put in the work. It's worth it. Love you guys. See you next week.
Through the shadow, we'll bring the light. Gunning for justice, screaming loud. Tear through lies, break the shroud. For the kids, the broken homes. We won't stop till the truth is known.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm going to bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's got to be biblical.